Hi and welcome to the show. My guest today is a producer, ethnomusicologist, as well as founder and chairman of the African Music Festival, one of the oldest and largest international African events in Europe. Born in the Gambia and then based in both Holland and the United States, he was to a great extent responsible for the increased popularity of Africa's music worldwide. Today, he has dedicated his life to the presentation, documentation, and preservation of African music and culture. Oko Drammeh, welcome to The Scoop. Oko, it's a pleasure, my brother. It's great to have you here.
Thank you so much.
It's great to have you here.
Thank you
Oko,
so much.
what is an ethnomusicologist?
Hello, listeners. Make it Kenyan. Ethnomusicologist is somebody who study ethnic groups, their music, their art forms. So this is called ethno, normally refers to.
And where do you study something like this? Did you go to a university to study something like this, or is it just something you pick up?
You know, in Africa, we always start music late. When we don't become what our parents hope for. Like when we don't become lawyers and doctors and astronauts, then we start music. We always start late. My education came from collecting information from Fabulous 208, music magazines from England like the Melody Maker, Billboard magazine. As a kid, I was reading Downbeat magazines and Salut Les Copains, the biggest French pop music journal. So I really educated myself like any scientist would become a self-inventor. I've invented a pattern of knowledge that was attracted to the arts at a very young age, simply because my mother was a politician who organized cultural events. That's the basis of my natural knowledge.
So your dad wanted you to be either a politician or a scientist or an engineer rather than a musician. So where was the love for music?
No, it's from my mother's side, because my brothers are very, lucky to be highly educated. They become heads of government, ministers, and every job, I think my family, every job they go into, they become leaders because of, number one, they don't do it for the money, and they study well for it, to a very succinct professional route. They never derail themselves because of the experience of my parents and my foreparents. Because my great-grandfather had lots of boats and he traded with Morocco, sailing to bringing some nice marbles to Gambia, supported many people's education and bought nice homes near the seaside. So we were lucky, not to be put under pressure to become.
But you were a bit of a rebel, obviously. I mean, I think you were. It sounds like you were the
soul rebel.
You were the rebel in the family. It sounds like.
Yes, truly.
Tell me a little bit about growing up in the Gambia.
Living in an English country, very small, and engulfed by a big country called Senegal, which is French. It's like you are like a small fish in the ocean. Like we are small fish. We speak English in the big ocean of French. So education at the childhood level for Gambians was complicated because the purpose of your education was to either work, teach, or to serve some other purpose. But all the energy, economic energy, was in Senegal. The larger population, they have a larger, circulation of money because of the Francophone zone. So growing up in Gambia, we were focused much on British education. We wanted to go to Sierra Leone, Ghana, Nigeria, and then to England. Very limited scope. So few people had the chance to get high education. But education was for everybody. But remember, the churches own the schools. So if you are not a Christian, as a Muslim, Muslim didn't have high school. Muslims came late into education.
So your family is Muslim?
Yes.
Yeah. So you felt you didn't have as many opportunities as a Christian.
There were every 8 Muslims who would go to high school. We had 2 high schools in the capital. That time, Gambia was 300,000 people. 300,000 people.
The entire population.
Full stop. Just like when you say Westlands.
Yes, absolutely.
The competition was high. The competition was high. Every family would tell their son, you have to be the greatest, because we know each other. So the rich people and the Christians, of course, their children went to England. So we who came from one side of the city, which is called South Side, we call the ghetto, we were defiant and dissidents. We didn't like police. We don't like the government. We were the anti-establishment. We were the original Gambians in Banjul.
This is now 1981.
Yes.
And there is a coup.
Correct.
In Gambia.
Yes.
And you're part of that movement.
Correct.
You led a battalion.
Correct.
How did you get into sort of being anti-government and being part of this coup?
I was an artist. I was not anti-government. I was for pro-people. I knew that the government later took politics as an employment. They take money from poor people and promising them education, promising them international scholarships. All this is politics in Africa becoming a business, a soccer game, like business, you know? So I became a radical because the African independence movement educated me through my parents and their friends around me. I was able to meet people from Congo, from Ghana, from Uganda, from Kenya, from Zambia, from the progressive African countries. I grew up reading their books. I ended up reading Axioms of Kwame Nkrumah, Dark Days in Ghana, Challenge of the Congo. So I know these activities, the founding of the ANC, you know, in 1905. I knew the history of all the civil rights movement, the SWAPO in Namibia, you know, and you have to, I grew up with that. Even though I'm going to school, but I was a dissident as an artist. Because an artist is an intellectual.
But I mean, you actually physically took part in the coup.
You know,
According
sometimes,
to the,
the newspapers made a big story out of it because when I became a music promoter in Hollywood, that story came out.
Yeah.
But when I was in this, you know, when I was in this movement, I call it this interest group. I was really not. People didn't know that I was part of this.
So you didn't sort of go and fight. Did you actually physically go and bomb places or?
No, it was not advanced to that level. We run newspapers at the time. We run the Black Brotherhood. We also run another paper called the Black Scorpion.
So you just used to write articles?
But with these articles, we also had group meetings. You see, you know, an individual end up into an organization. These group meetings were also sensitized by the workers' union, by the labor union. So early in our life, we come to know what is international labor organization. We come to know what is trade unionism. So because knowledge makes you brave. A freedom fighter becomes brave because he is knowledgeable in people's rights.
So you got picked up, you got arrested.
Yes.
You got put in jail.
Correct.
What was that like at that age? You were still a young man. what was that like?
I was so happy.
Really? You were happy to be in jail?
I see all these important people with me.
So you made great contacts.
I saw all these military leaders and all these politicians.
The first time I've ever heard of anyone using jail as a networking place.
No, but I was happy because I saw a policeman who used to refuse us to go to the seaside. And when we would take something, he would seize it from us and chase us. I saw him get arrested. And they threw him in the same cell where I was. He hit his head and he was dizzy. So he hugged me and called me a different name. I said, "Oh, that's not him. That's me." I was lucky. But it was drama because I knew I would be free. So people were crying. They did something serious. I didn't do anything bad. So I knew I would be free. So I enjoyed all this drama of people coming to me to pray for them because they promised us to be killed in the night. So there were many mock trials. That they would say, "We kill you tonight. We take us to the place," and they cancel. So we go through a long trauma of these suspended sentences and suspended executions. This increase and it strengthened my psychology about life and death, and also know that everything is a sometime thing, even people, me and you. So because it's a sometime thing, I like to impact people's lives from my chain of background from the politics, trade unionism, intellectualism, and art. I use this whole package influencing the world as an African.
We're going to come right back with Oko Drammeh. Stay with me. Hi, welcome back. I'm here with Oko Drammeh. Oko, why did you choose Holland to go to? Why did your family choose Holland?
I was running away.
But not Britain?
No, I had to go to America for schooling. Opportunities were there. I had the opportunity to go to America for education, but because I was involved and wrongly implicated into something that I denied all the time, even though everybody said they had proofs, but I denied. So it's a 50-50. I get out of Gambia quickly to Europe simply because we had what we call a state of emergency. There were no live music, and this is going to be for 1 or 2 years. My income was in music, and I had to find ways of not only surviving, but living effectively.
So let's go back to a second to that. Where did you learn your music? Was it from school days, or was it from just listening? You had a big influence in there was a big influence of Western music in the Gambia. You did DJing, but where did you learn this stuff? I mean, you can't just go and be a DJ.
I taught myself most of these things because, like I told you, my parents did not condition me to become a cow for them to give them milk. Like, you have to study to earn money to take care of parents. My parents didn't put me in that condition. They just let me do my thing. And my mom encouraged me all the time in my cultural activities. I had Rasta hair and many people didn't like it, but my mom loved it. So I was under the protection. My education was self-taught.
But did you know the kind of influence that African music had over some of the biggest artists of that era of the 80s and 90s, how much they used African music to create their own things?
Europeans, when I went to Europe, they were not aware about Africa. They thought African music was ballet. The drummers, the dancers, and the girls with the breasts. That's all they know. I'm talking about 1980. Europe did not know about African music. All the people who are doing African music in the world now are all my students. I teach them. I taught the guys who started Womat Festival, which is Peter Gabriel, the biggest African European music. I started the Mondial festivals in Holland. I started the ones in England, Germany. People copy me to a point that I was almost like a male Princess Diana, that Oko must die because we have to take his rights. Now they start to struggle to take my rights, my logos. Sometimes they deliberately do it. There was a mass movement. The politics of organizing African events made me to study more because suddenly many Europeans want to take over the African music from the hands of the Africans because they are used to Africans giving them free diamonds, free land. No longer. I decided to be what I was during the coup, a rebel in Europe, because most of my friends are famous pop stars and they would support me. Lucky for me, I had the Dutch government supporting me. So I could present what is called contemporary African music, no longer Africans with drums and breast dancing women. And Europeans
and the world is a poorer place.
Yeah, and then they, you know that one. And even with the musicians, they show them losing their teeth. They never go to a nice, well-dressed musician. So they always give us the psychological notion that we should be dependent. We should behave and be obedient to get favors. And what is the favor? We record you. But then how much money do you spend to record an African artist? Not more than 10,000 euros, not more. How much do you give Madonna for an album? $4 million. So Africans cannot compete. So then I said to myself, I have to be the one-man army for African music. This is how I introduced Youssou N'Dour, Salif Keita, Mori Kante. I remember the first day I introduced Salif Keita to Osibisa. He was so happy. He told me, when I was in Mali, I was a young guy, he called me, I want to meet Osibisa. I tell him, go and meet them. They are easy people. But he was nervous. So he greeted them and told Osibisa, you taught me what I am today. So I took the artists who used to listen to the elder artists. Franco of Congo, I had to use Papa Wemba and Kofi Olomide. For E.T. Mensah High Life of Ghana, I had to take Osibisa and I had to take another group from Ghana. For Guinea, I had to take Kouyaté Sori but I took Bembe Jazz. These are all people taught. They were taught about the African unity through music, African peace through music, and African harmony through music. That's what Lumumba thought. That's what Kwame Nkrumah thought. That's what Jomo Kenyatta thought. Kenya was the leading African country in music. Nigeria listened to Kenya. Congo listened to Kenya. Gambia listened to Kenya. Until Congolese people, experts, had to come to Kenya to steal the music of Kenya. I'm sorry, Congo, to take the music of
So now we know where all the good stuff comes from.
Yes.
Right
they
here
sent
in
two
Kenya.
people to Kenya, Bosco and the other guy. I remember when I was young in Gambia, I used to listen to this Swahili song called Julieta. Luckily, it was a song from Kenya, but it influenced all the Gambian people.
So tell me a little bit about setting up the African Music Festival. I mean, it's such a huge event. Tell me a little bit about how you did it, what was the motivation, how it all came about, and the support that you got from some of these great African artists. Why did they come to you?
I mean, I'm the DNA because I started fighting for African music. So the bloodline continue in the artists and their leaders. If you don't have me, you can have some physical person held somewhere, but does he have the database? Has he communicated with the past artists like Franco and Rochero? Those were gone. And those people were sincere and honest in the art. They knew the craft with some magical spiritual beliefs. That's why they succeeded when there was no money, no technology. Now we have money and technology. All our artists completely fall in the water. They become Americans in Kenya. Now they are forcing Kenyan people to become American through the music. Whilst our elders and our forefathers say, let's use the music to inspire the growth of this country. We can make this country great from the creative thought of Kenyans or creative African thought. You see my point? You must be independent and you must be politically positive and believe in you. The way you believe your father and mother, you have to believe another African like that. This belief, the artist knew that when I was young, I came from a mom who had connections with thinkers. I continued this, and when I went to Holland, I started the first festival for 20 years. I think when I started first, they used to do Salif Keita, Lucky Dube, they were not playing music. I started with Franco, Manu Dibango, King Sori Ade, Fela Kuti, Manu Dibango, Miriam Makeba. I started with these people.
Legends in the business.
That's why, you know, I don't want to even say anything about that, because I told Africans not to accept success early. Success is a lifetime journey. There is no one point in life they say success. It has no definition. The moment you define it, you start to melt. It's the mountaintop, but when you reach there, you see there is nothing. There's only responsibility. And that responsibility will be, you are a community belonging. You have to be tolerant to the culture, to the ethics and norms of the community. You just have to, you don't have to disrespect them. Bringing foreign influence back to Kenya with a lot of violence, a lot of anti-intellectual, you know, opinions, instead of things that our parents cannot communicate with their kids. Before, songs were stories. The African story, people sit and their parents tell them the story, and then you hear one band sing this song and say, oh, my mom told me this story.
So there was a familiarity to it.
Yes. Yeah. So the African artists now lost that. So I was trying to create a renaissance in Africa, and that's how I discovered many of these young second generation artists.
Your brother was one of Gambia's premier footballers.
Yes.
In sport, you know, he was one of the great footballers.
Yeah, he was great.
In Gambia. You lost him at an early age in a car accident. What lessons? I mean, he helped you give your name to your company, the Sotokoto company and the band as well that came out of it. And it was, Soto is a tree, am I correct, in Gambia?
It's a tree in our
compound. It's a tree in your compound.
Gate, yeah.
So you used to sit and have people around there,
Correct.
all the thinkers and the doers. But what did he teach you in terms of, and what was his loss like to you at that time?
I mean, like I was saying, always in life, you have to have the source. Every river gets its water from somewhere. My source, it's within my thought and my family and my family's awareness. My mom, as a leader, have educated the family to be tolerant to other people. That's why our compound became a central point. We had about 4 football clubs in the compound. We have about 3 basketball teams, athletics teams. So my brother, my eldest brother, played so much football. He was the leading goal scorer for Gambia, and he was captain. So my mom used to wash the clothes of the national team and iron them, you know. so you know, my brother, you know, actually, unfortunately, man, when my brothers have died,
all of them?
All of them, except my young brother. One was the director of the fisheries department. He worked with Lake Malawi. He was very advanced in science. But it's always not bad to be useful and die young. Like, it's better than living on this world, confusing people for 99 years.
That's a good way to put it.
So positive people don't have, life is a purposeful thing. You just don't live like the wind. You don't go like that. You have to measure your steps. You have to be aware of every minute and which role your life has to be perfected. You see, when my brother died and I saw his actions in terms of what I always tell you, tolerate people. He had so many people around him. He nurtured so many people. When he died, I said, obviously, I have to continue the dream.
We'll be right back with Oko Drammeh. Stay with me. Hi, welcome back. I'm here with Oko Drammeh. Oko, what advice would you give to young African musicians? Is this an industry that they should come into? Is this something that they should learn? Is there a future on the continent in terms of music?
Big future. We are the best musicians in the world. because we already discussed, others study it through directions, guidelines, equipment, technology. We just do it from our brains. We don't have the technology, but we can use our mouth to create the same wah-wah pedal the American guitar player is playing. We sell the same music in the same shops. We have no facility. We have people in government taking care of music who have never been to a party. Now, they don't know even that you need a colored bulb. They just bring one light, and for the band, they go. So, with all these difficulties, we have reservoir of talent and resources which we did not touch yet. It is time for Africans to start to venture in art and culture. You don't have to build homes to rent. And sometimes we Africans, we are like we are on drugs, all of us, because they say that the rich people are the useful people. But if you check the daily activities of these rich people, they don't serve the community. It's just 4 people. It will be my wife, my children, full stop. But you compare Warren Buffett and Bill Gates, they bringing medicine to Africa. Africans, even rich, there are so many rich Africans who
don't seem to want to help.
They don't understand because they think that the imagination of heaven, they can live on earth. I tell them, you don't work, you better, you don't work. The thing is, African artists have to have 3 things to start with, because talent is not a thought, it's not a guess. Talent is ability, talent is knowledge, talent is willingness. They have to have these basics before they go into music. Many people, unfortunately, don't have employment. Youth employment is a big problem in Africa, but also all over the world. I mean, Europe and America, people don't work. There's no work. You have to work for yourself. This advice for the new generation right now, this is the word I just say. Advance yourself. Do it yourself. So if you want to do music in Africa now, simple, ordinary people have to influence their councillors and governors to talk to the main government. That there should be institutions of training. Not only music as a subject. Music have about 20 departments, and art itself has over 120 departments. Some people know it. The reason I'm in Kenya and the reason I'm doing the festival is to educate and to encourage so that Kenyans can take in charge of this Kenyan music, to be able to connect to Tanzania, Tanzania connect to Nigeria. African artists should be free from custom trade. Since Minister of Finance do not think that artists can facilitate economy, we have to break up from the ministry and start our own artist ministry, our own finance art department, because our finance and economists in music can create more money than the agriculture, than the lions and the giraffes. There can be a threat of terrorism, of global warming, and the tourists don't come again. But the music will always survive. God bless you, that's the word.
The music will always survive.
Let the governments of Africa take art seriously as a form of enriching the continent and giving every job to youths.
The future, what's next for you? You've achieved an enormous amount in your life. What's next for you?
I want to put up a museum somewhere in Africa. It doesn't have to be in my country. For me, country don't matter much. You know, we have this country.
A museum of what?
Of my works.
Okay.
You see what I mean? I'm trying to start also an art performing school in Gambia, to build one and give it to the people so that the kids can study there. These are the 2 major factors that I think can sum up a database. People can learn from my contacts. They can know who's a producer, where can we go to festivals in America, London. I have all this information. But I cannot put it in one book. I'm writing for many African magazines and international papers. All that also I cannot put in books. But if I compile them with the new technology, it's like an encyclopedia. People can go and research the source of music, source of instruments, who are the greatest players, selling business in Africa, how you can sell a record as an African when people don't understand your language. What do you do? Do you have to sing? You know, the African artists have a lot of problems in what we call mentality switch. Because they live in Kenya, some of them never traveled, but they want to act like American and talk about American culture or British culture, but they've never been to that country. So to talk about things that irritate you, you are ashamed that those people can hear this, that these people are singing about all this expensive car and clothes. But they don't understand how movie works, that all those cars, all those clothes don't belong to the artist. You see 50 cents and all that. The company give it to them because they want the video to look like that, because they target a certain market. Even the artists don't know that they give him a red shirt because they're targeting a country like Kenya or China because they like red. Record and music business is made like that. Record is not a performance, it's a thought. Musicians play 1% in the record. It's the engineer and the producer who travel to another studio, give the musician ticket to go home and sit down.
Okay, the show is called The Scoop.
Correct.
I asked my guests to tell me something about them that hopefully nobody in the world knows.
California, the country of Clint Eastwood, Michael Jackson, Quincy Jones, Stevie Wonder, They awarded me a proclamation certificate, gold seal, for my work for African music and bringing African music to Hollywood. And when I came to Hollywood, all the stars came out. And they said, this is what we wanted to see. This is, we are going back to our roots. And what I got in reward that people don't know is that I encourage many American artists and European artists to come to Africa, sign up artists, and take them global. Because in the artist world, we don't have borders. And I want Kenyans also to be on this wagon. Being here and doing the festival here is to encourage and to create attraction for the sport so that it can be lively. People here will be confident. Lack of confidence have created a lot of misfortunes. But when we gain our country back, I like this new logo in Kenya, make it Kenyan. When we make it Kenyan, we can also link ourselves up with the success of Nigerian music. We have to be successful because the ingredients are there. We haven't, the elephant is sleeping. Wake the elephant up.
And that's the award-winning scoop with Oko Drammeh. Join me again next week when I'll be talking to yet another great African personality. From me and the entire team of The Scoop, from Nairobi, Kenya, thanks for watching. Oko, thanks a million, my brother.
Pleasure,
again,
my brother.
man. Thank
God
you
bless
so
you,
much, man. Yeah, what a great life, what a great story. Thank you so much.
You are the man. You are the man.
Thank you for honoring us with your presence.